Good evening. This is Stephen Easley of Group 2, and today we're talking about Lee Wang and his coffee shop, the Pudong Coffee Shop. Lee is going into his third year of operations, and he's experiencing increase in income, but also the business as a whole has taken a loss of 13,710 yuan. And Lee's not really sure where that loss is coming from. My group and I, we looked at the numbers and we've determined that there are three things that Lee can do to drastically turn around his business. Those three things are providing free Wi-Fi, providing programming and atmosphere in his business to attract groups, and also training his current staff and hiring new full-time staff. Now we're looking at that because 45% of the coffee drinking population in China is between 21 to 30 years old. This is where we want to focus our efforts to try to attract this demographic. This demographic is up and coming. They're located and working in the areas which our coffee shop is currently located. And that's the demographic that we really feel can push the business. So by providing the free Wi-Fi, we feel that they will keep people in the shop longer. Keeping them in longer will hopefully they will spend more. As they spend more, whether they're buying drinks or pastries or whatever it is that we're selling at that time, we hope that will truly improve our income. But then also our new staff and our trained staff will provide a greater customer experience for them. So they're there longer, they're having a great time, they can leave with a smile, they can go back to their businesses, homes, friends, families, and talk about the business and hopefully attract more foot traffic to the Pudong Coffee Shop. Next, what you're going to hear is from Liz, and she's going to talk about the numbers and the forecast for the business.
Thanks, Stephen. I'm going to talk about the numbers a little bit, based on the estimates that we've put together for improvements and without improvements. So, one of the estimates that we did for our numbers is an increased price of about 3%, sales volume increase of 5%, and a cash cost increase of 4%. As you can see from the slide, in 2009, there was an almost 14,000 yuan loss. Without our improvements and our estimates, 2010, we're estimating about a 36,000 yuan profit. With our improvements, we're still estimating a price increase of 3%, a cash cost increase of 4%, but our sales volume increase with our improvements is going up to 8%. We've also accounted for a wage increase for 3 full-time employees at about 50,000 yuan per employee and 2 part-time employees at about 15,000 yuan. That gave us a profit of about 64,000 yuan, which is a great increase over 2009's loss. And now, Ben is going to talk about the numbers in a more granular state, talking about units. Thank you.
Thanks, Liz. I'm now going to cover a break-even analysis based on the data given to us in the case and from the data we have received on our own recommendations. As you can see in our recommendations, we have enjoyed a lower cost per transaction, a greater margin, and this is all due to lower costs and a greater number of transactions from our customers. All this translates into a lower break-even point. If we look at the data coming from the case, we still are enjoying a higher margin and a higher number of transactions, but we are still seeing a higher cost per transaction and higher overall cost in general. And this is causing us to have a higher break-even point. So as you can see, our recommendations are going to give us a much better prospect in the future. And if the Pudong Coffee Shop ever does desire to sell, at the moment we give it a 1.3 million yuan valuation based on a 1.5 times the 2009 assets. And now John is going to cover the critical success factors that we would like to implement as the Pudong Coffee Shop moves into the future.
Thank you, Ben. As Ben mentioned, I'm going to be focusing on 3 major critical success factors that the management at the Pudong Coffee Shop must focus on in this year and in future years if they want to maintain and continue to improve on success. The first of these critical success factors is they need to strive for an 8% increase in their yearly sales, whether it be beverages or snacks that they're offering in the coffee shop. And they need to do this because it will allow for a sustainable, strong business results each year that will then enable them to continue to improve their business and show more profits year after year. The second critical success factor that they must focus on in future years is they need to reduce their cost of goods sold down to 40% of sales. Currently in 2009, they're running at 45% of sales, which is literally the defining factor that is driving them into a loss for a year. It's their largest expense and they have to get it under control now and in future years. And because of this, in order to achieve this level of cost of goods sold, to reduce their expense, they're going to need to do this through the additional skilled staff that had been mentioned earlier that the Pudong Coffee Shop is going to add. And this new staff person, as well as the existing staff, will focus on reducing waste and negotiating with suppliers in order to find a better means of supplies for their cost of goods sold. Lastly, the third critical success factor that management at the Pudong Coffee Shop needs to be more aware of is they need to grow and have a greater understanding of their customers. This way they will know who their customers are, what their lifestyles are like, and what they want in the morning, afternoon, and evenings each day. And this will then in turn enable them to be a long-term successful company because they will have the customer base that is growing and consistently increasing year after year. Thank you for taking the time to watch our analysis of the Pudong Coffee Shop.